everybody, welcome to Country Girl. My name's Kathy and welcome to my channel. And today we're going to talk about what the garden is doing in January. Now, we've started a new year, and that means for many of you it's start the new gardening season for next year. For me, I've been gardening for a long time, and I had a challenge this year myself to have turnips, carrots, potatoes, and kale and Swiss chard for Christmas. And I managed to do that, except for the potatoes. My potatoes are down here. I'll turn you around so you can see them. They did not do well. They got hit by frost, even with the covering over them. And there's potatoes in the buckets. I'm just not for sure if they're good or not. I have to dig them up and check them out. But I did have some carrots, and I got a few left over. I had the kale, the Swiss chard. I got some lettuce growing over there. We got some parsley up here. It needs a little water. I need to trim it up. I got more kale and some Swiss chard here. My beets have just about given up. And outside of the greenhouse, I have turnips. Lots and lots of turnips. And I had this kale and my rosemary, so I had fresh herbs. But not everybody gardens in the fall, and that's all right. Especially if you're new or just getting started, you want to do just what you can handle. And maybe you decided that you're new at the garden, you just didn't have the garden you wanted last year. Don't worry about it. A lot of gardeners, most gardeners, will say that there was something in their garden that just did not work out for them last year. For me, it was my broccoli and my cauliflower and my okra. And I usually have no problem with okra. But I made a mistake of planting it in bed number 2 over there, which gets shaded by a pear tree in the summer. So the only thing I really need to plant in that bed are cool weather crops, something that likes to have shade. So if you had problems with your garden last year, look at it and decide, and say getting enough southern exposure, it should have at least 6 to 8 hours of sunlight a day for most veggies. Another thing that could have gone wrong was the type of soil you had. If your soil is not good, then you're not going to have good crops. So if you're going to splurge on anything, splurge on your soil. That's what it all comes down to. And what I do, I like the raised beds. And every fall, I'll come in here and the beds are done. And you notice the turnip bed, it's way low. It needs to have a lot of compost put into it. But what I do is I top them off with shredded leaves, some compost, some either potting soil or garden soil, and I top all that off with straw. Now the reason I put the straw on there is that it keeps the cats away from it. As you notice, I have a cat here bothering me, following me like crazy. It's just, but this straw will keep the cats from doing any damage to it. There she is. That's Buttercup. Also, the straw, if I leave it on all winter, you'll notice that it's got some green weeds in it. That's because the seeds that are in that straw have germinated. So this spring, when I want to plant, I just have to take that straw off, set it to the side, pull the weeds, put in my transplants or my seeds, put the straw back on, and it's not going to have any weed seeds in it to produce more weeds. So you have to take care of your soil, and it's not just a one-time thing. Once you put in, you have to add a little bit of compost and build them up each year. And I also use organic fertilizer in them, or some of them have chicken manure, aged chicken manure in them. Depends on how much you have as to how much you can, you use what you have on hand, and you have to buy what you don't have. Another thing for gardening is to plant only the plants that you know your family will eat, especially the first couple of years. Get to know those, learn how to plant those, and then after you get those established and you've got that down, then start looking at your seed catalogs and finding other things that you want to try. That's half the fun of gardening, is trying new things. And I try to grow at least 1 to 2 new things every year. Some of them work out and some of them don't. Like the Swiss chard that I grew, we don't use it that much, but I like the rainbow colors, so I use it as a colorful plant just to add interest to the garden, as well as being able to eat the plant. But what we also tried was eggplant. In our family, that's found out we don't like eggplant, so there's no need for me to plant eggplants anymore. So learn what your family likes and plant those. Experiment with new types as you become more experienced. And another thing is to know when to plant stuff. When you're looking at your seed catalogs, check and see that the plant is hardy for your area. Look at how long the growing season is to make sure it matches your growing season. And to find out your growing season, look at the frost dates. The frost date in the fall and the frost date in the spring. And between the spring and the fall, that is your growing period. So buy seeds and plants that are good for your area will help immensely on how well your garden's going to turn out. Another thing is decide what type of garden you want. I have a huge garden, and I have mostly in beds, raised beds. I have some crate garden over underneath the tree by the picnic table. I have some in-ground gardening here with the bean tars. I also have a bucket garden here. We have the greenhouse that we were just in, and I'm expanding for next year. In the far corner there's 2 plots of plastic there. You can't see but the one, because the other one's on the downside of the hill. I'm going to put in-ground melons, like my cantaloupe and my watermelon and my pumpkins are going to go in there. And I'm hoping to put a new greenhouse on this other plot. So I have a little bit of all type of gardening. Containers gardens, I've tried grow bags, buckets. So don't be afraid to experiment with your different gardening techniques. Another thing, make it as easy for yourself as you can. I like the bucket gardening because it's very little weeding. You don't have to bend over, and it's very easy. Same with the the raised beds. You don't have to bend as much. You don't have to till any of the land, so it saves money because you don't need a tiller. And it's easy to plant, like the whole bed can be planted either in one whole crop, or you can use a variety of crops. You can put different things in it. You can use the raised bed square foot method, or you can just put them in rows. It doesn't matter how you garden. Everybody has their own unique way. So don't let someone tell you that you have to do it a certain way. You have to experiment and find your own way of doing it. And another thing is to have some fun in the garden. I have a bunch of scarecrows. You just saw the cat playing with one. And I have knickknacks. I have a little butterfly over here, little sculpture. Just add things to your garden that make you happy and makes you enjoy it. I have wind chimes in the trees so I can hear those. I've got some bird feeders out here for the birds, especially in the winter time. Birds are nice to have in the winter time because they come and they eat all the grubs and things that you don't want. So remember to have fun in the garden, enjoy your garden, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe to the channel, please. Give it a thumbs up and hit that bell icon so you know when I'm going to be on next. And remember, dream big and then follow that dream. Bye.